Okay, I'm going to explain feelings to you very simply. There are two types of feeling. One is emotional feeling. Two is sensory feeling, sensation. Okay? Now, the spectrum of emotions, the emotional spectrum, I'm going to explain how to do alchemy, and then I'll explain how to do alchemy transmutation with the sensory spectrum of feeling. What that means is, if you're in pain in any way, and there's only two types of pain, there's emotional pain and there's sensory pain. If you're in pain in any type of way, I'm going to help you out right now. And I'm going to teach you how to transmute that pain that you may be in. Okay? All right. First of all, it's important to understand that pain originally was just a mechanism to call our attention into focus. Right? When you're in pain, what that means is focus, pay attention, there's something there. It was never meant to hurt you and keep you trapped in pain for so long, needless suffering, needless pain. Okay? However, sometimes the pain gets too bad. Sometimes the pain doesn't get your attention properly, and the pain makes you go insane. You know what I'm saying? So, how do we transmute anything that is painful so that it is no longer painful and we come back to a place of feeling good? Yeah, feeling well and healthy. Yeah. Well, emotional alchemy, first of all, emotional alchemy is transmuted through your loving awareness, your presence, your attention. Okay? Okay? Which is also the same thing as God's awareness. God's awareness in you. If you are in one of the lower emotions, which are the negative side of the emotional spectrum, right? Because everything has a negative and positive polarity, right? If you're in the negative side of the emotional spectrum, what that means is you're either feeling grief, you're either feeling despair, or loneliness, or shame, or is there any more? I mean, if we're gonna be really extra, I'll say sadness as well. Okay? I'm not including anger because anger is a secondary emotion. Okay? I'm only including the primary emotions. Yeah. Okay, so if you are feeling any of these emotions, if you are feeling grief, if you are feeling despair, if you are feeling loneliness, if you are feeling shame, or if you are feeling sadness, you have to understand there is a truth in the emotion you are feeling. And it's an energy and motion which needs to flow through you. And the only way that it can flow through you is, number one, obviously, it needs to flow through your body. So, best thing to do is move and to breathe deeply. But forget about all that. Let me simplify it for you. I'm only going to give you one thing to do here, which is the mental side of transmutation of emotion. The mental side is, with your mind, finding the truth in the emotion you're feeling. The truth, okay? Because often what happens is, when we're feeling the negative emotions, we want to get rid of it. We don't want to see that there is a truth in that emotion, right? So, grief. What is the truth in grief? Well, there is so much to grieve. We have been through hell to get to the place we are in right now, collectively. We have been through so much pain, so much torture, so much trauma, and God, we've lost so much, my God. Oh, we gotta grieve. The story of the universe is a sad story, and that's why we feel sadness. We feel sadness because the universe, God, Spirit was all alone, and God, Spirit, Mother, Father, Baby, God, Spirit, Source, had to give birth to itself. And it was a sad process. That's why we feel grief and we feel sadness. And we gotta grieve. We gotta grieve how sad our existence is on the lower end of the spectrum. Existence can be extremely sad, and you need to grieve and cry, and then tears, they will wash clean the windows to your soul. And when you cry, you are crying with all of us. Yeah, grief. So you gotta find the truth in the emotion, and then it will be processed and released through you. After grief, there is despair. Despair is when you realize you cannot undo the original wound, you cannot undo the original trauma, and you cannot undo the original pain. of our existence. You can't undo that. You can't go back and change the original story of the universe. Sadly. Okay, that's despair. When you realize that, when you realize you cannot get rid of all of the pain in our collective conscious, you cannot, you know what I say? You are able to transmute through yourself, okay, and bring yourself back to a place of wholeness and wellness, but you can't do everything, and that's despair. We feel despair when we realize that we can't actually change what has already gone, what has already passed. The bad things that have already passed, we can't change them. Okay, that's despair. Now, once you get through the grief and through the despair, you may also be feeling loneliness. The loneliness, the truth of the loneliness is that we are the only one here. Our awareness is the only awareness, the awareness of all that there is. Okay? And that's a lonely situation. Hey. God. Your loneliness is God's loneliness. Right? Get it? Because we are the only awareness here. So even though there are so many of us and we are all together, and we are constantly coming together and moving into a new dimension where we are all even more together, right? Even though we're all together, we're all alone together. Okay, just know that you are on your own, but that's okay, cause we are one, as Cleopatra's was done and Nicolix said. Okay, now get this. Okay, once you acknowledge that truth of the loneliness and the truth of the grief and the truth of the despair and the sadness, that is the wisdom in it. And once you get the wisdom in it, okay, then you will transmute it. Same with loneliness. The truth in the loneliness and what each of these call us to do different things. Grief calls us to grieve. Despair also calls us to grieve. And loneliness calls us, in fact, despair also calls us to let go. Despair calls us to let go of what is out of our control. Grief calls us to grieve. Sadness calls us to cry. And loneliness calls us to be present with ourselves and cradle the little baby of the universe that is inside of each and every one of us. Okay? Inner child. Okay? And the only other emotion which is negative is fear. But fear, the truth about fear is the memory of pain. So fear is calling us to become aware of the pain that we have been through to get to this reality that we are in right now, where we are safe and we are no longer out of control having nightmares. Okay, so fear really is calling us to do this. Fear becomes parasitic just as anything becomes parasitic if it's a negative energy and it stays in your body and mind for too long. But fear really will be eliminated as soon as you realize it's not fear, it's the memory of pain. And the fear bit is projecting a false illusion of pain into your future, which is not gonna happen. It's simply a memory. And once you realize that, the fear will go. And once you get the truth of all of these emotions, they will all transmute into peace. Now you got peace. The peace is the trunk of the tree. The roots are the negative emotions of the tree, and the peace is the trunk of the tree. Once we have processed, and it's a cycle, it's a cyclical thing. Sometimes you will have to go, you will think you're done with those emotions, and then you'll come back and you'll feel them again until you're really done with the negative emotions. When you're really done, then you're anchored into peace. You're at the trunk of the tree now. Your roots have grown so deep down. You've grieved, you've despaired, you've cried, you've felt that loneliness, that sadness. Your fear has reminded you that we have already been through hell to get to the heaven we're in right now. Okay? I say, and now you're at peace. Now you have finally found the peace that is your nature. The peace that is the nature of the Creator. The peace that is the nature of the Creator. The peace that is the Holy Spirit. Yeah. Now you're at peace with yourself. Okay? Now your branches are open to the heavens above to finally now grow into the fruits which are joy, love, creative expression, blissfulness, enjoyment, fulfillment, and happiness, and abundance. Okay, that's emotional alchemy for you. But there's another type of feeling that we experience. It's not only emotional feeling that we experience. The other type of feeling we experience is sensory feeling. How do we deal with sensory feeling? Well, here's how we deal with it, right? The thing that creates the alchemy and the transmutation is your presence and your awareness, which is the same thing as the awareness and presence of the loving creator of the universe, mother, father, child, God. Okay? This spirit. Spirit literally means awareness. I mean, it comes from the Latin word spiritus, which means breath, but breath is literally just God's awareness. So yeah. Okay. So how are we going to deal with the sensory pain? Well, if you're experiencing sensory pain, firstly, what you need to do is you need to bring your attention to the sensory pain. I know that sounds counterintuitive because often we don't want to focus where there's sensory pain, but that pain is calling our attention into focus. We should also recognize here that there was one original flaw with the sensory spectrum, which is that it doesn't really have a limit on it, so it can go as bad as you can possibly imagine it to be, which is very painful. However, we're healing from that. That's trauma. That's the original sensory trauma of the universe. But if you're experiencing sensory pain somewhere in your body, firstly, you must know this is not a life sentence. You do not need to be in sensory pain for any longer than it takes to reprogram your subconscious mind to release that sensory pain, okay? Okay, this is why some people are walking on fire. Some people walk through fire. They walk on fire because their subconscious programming from wherever they are in the world has taught them and allowed them to believe that they can walk on fire. They don't feel pain. Why don't they feel the pain? They don't feel the pain because pain is something created through the software programming of our universe and our reality. So essentially, you gotta really start to open yourself up to the possibility that the sensory pain does not need to stay. And then also, what is it trying to tell you? What's the truth in the sensory pain? If you're getting sensory pain somewhere in your body, right, that is a spiritual thing. That is a symptom that somewhere in your being is feeling vulnerable. It could be from your soul, it could be from your ancestral line, but you're feeling this sensory pain because somewhere is not being taken care of fully. And you gotta show that place love. Okay? Take care of yourself fully. And also have a little bit of faith. Have a little bit of faith and belief that the spirit has the power to heal absolutely everything. And the other key to this, healing from a sensory pain. And by the way, sensory pain can be physical illnesses, right? Physical ailments, illnesses, and injuries, right? The spirit has the power to heal all physical ailments, injuries, and sicknesses and problems that you may be experiencing on a physical level. But you first have to understand that understand that this is a dream. You have to understand that you're dreaming this dream with God, and that because this is a dream, the more you realize that this is a dream, the more you will be able to heal the sensory pain. Now, on top of that, what you can do is when you're dreaming, you can actually receive healing from God, from the spirit when you're dreaming, and from your elevated ancestors, when you're dreaming, okay? And you can reprogram your subconscious mind in your dreams. If you stay aware in your dreams, if lucid dreaming also helps. Now, I'm just going to say a few more things that are good for transmutation and good for bringing all of every fiber of your being into alignment. God's awareness originally went into the form of light and sound vibration. So what that means is, if you be listening to sound vibrations, or you go to somewhere where there's sound healing, or there is direct sunlight, okay, even firelight, okay, that will bring you healing both emotionally and sensorily, because it's all the same. So that will help you. Transmutation. I'll tell you what really helps. Go in the ocean, go in the sea, go in the rivers, the water. There is healing in the water because the water is God's awareness. The water is God's awareness in the form of water. Yeah, get it? And fire is God's awareness in the form of fire. And there are also once you tried out water and fire, and once you've lain on the earth, give all of your pain to the earth will absorb it. Once you've tried water, and once you've tried fire, and once you've tried sunlight, absorb sunlight, and once you've tried what else could you try? Let me think about this for a second, yo. What else could you try? You could try water, fire, sunlight, sound frequencies, like a Tibetan singing bowl, some shit like that, or even the drumming. Um, and you've also tried, lying down flat on the earth, giving your shit to the earth, and then the next thing that comes up after that is trees. Go to the trees. The trees will heal you. The trees absorb carbon dioxide, which we breathe out, and they also give out oxygen. But they also do the same thing energetically. They absorb any energies that are making you sick, and they give out healing energy. So go to the trees. The trees that are calling you, go to them. Yeah. The trees, the earth, the elements, the fire, the waters of earth, the sunlight, the sound healing frequencies, and then finally I would say breath is like probably the first thing to come to is breathe deeply, notice your breathing, allow God to breathe through you, allow the spirit to breathe through you, because breath, every time you breathe, the breath of life is being breathed into you. That's God's awareness in the form of air, breath. Yeah. Okay. And finally, lastly but not leastly, I would say there are plant medicines and there are both herbs, plant medicines that can seriously provide you with assistance. However, I would always suggest trying all of the other things first before you try the plants. Okay? Okay. But the plants, they do a lot. If you do it with intention and you do it purposefully. Okay? Now, finally again, I'd like to add one last thing on there for transmutation and alchemy, which is really movement, right? Getting vibration. And I know not everybody is able to move at the moment. You might not be in the same, physical vessel as I am, but like if you're able to, dancing, really getting the rhythm of the spirit, yeah, moving, doing some energy work, moving your etheric body around, doing some yoga or whatever it is. I don't know. Just moving around, exercising, whatever. You don't have to do anything intense. Just moving your etheric body and not staying stagnant. That will help you. But you know what else can help you? Resting. So lie down flat on the earth. The earth has the healing in it. So it's better to rest on the earth than it is to rest on, like indoors. Okay? But if you need to rest, right? Even resting, even lying down and setting the intention for healing and transmutation and bringing you back to wholeness and wellness and rejuvenation to take place, even just simply doing that will create alchemy and transmutation of your emotional pain or your sensory pain. I hope this was helpful. I hope this is helping you do some real good alchemy right now. When life gives you lemons, what do? You be Beyonce. Yeah, make that lemonade. Bye.